All right, once again, it is time to hit the books, part of the Hammer Betting Network, alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, only in his own mind, though, folks, Joey Knish. I am merely Brad Powers. Before we talk some bowl games here and recap last week's bowl games, we got a game going on right now, and we might as well hit it since it's time sensitive.
Second half, baby. You got anything?
I mean, as far as the second half play, you know what? I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent because, obviously Bowling Green's shorthanded. Their quarterback's out. I think they're still moving the football. I can't help it that their kicker stinks. I think New Mexico State's a bad football team, even though they're up 14-0 here. I was going to defer to you. We're seeing some money come in on the over a little bit here. Right now, BG's getting a little bit of money. Went from 1.5 to 2. Totals up to 22. I kind of agree with both. I mean, if I had to have a lean here, it would be BG in the over. What say you?
Yeah, I agree. I think I'd feel a little bit better about the over there. Obviously the over took some big steam today. And you saw both teams kind of came out with a little bit more tempo than usual, kind of spreading it out. It was kind of a YOLO mode game. I think if McDonald was healthy, you'd see this game would be a much different game, right? I don't think Bowling Green would have a goose egg. And they, even his first drive, he's moving the football a little bit better. Orth, they were able to still move it with him, but he's definitely a downgrade there. But if anything for me, it'd be a little over 22 there.
Fair enough. I agree with that. So a little bit of lean on the over from me and Knish. Before we get into anything else, let me remind everybody, hit the books on the Hammer Betting Network, powered by Circa Sports. You see the hat, you see the merch. Love Circa Sports. A lot of other sports books, maybe not so much, but we love Circa Sports here. You can bet like the pros with the world's largest sports book right at your fingertips. It is Circa Sports. Experience big app bets with the highest betting limits, better money line splits with the lowest hold percentage, best customer service, and more. It's sports betting on the go. It's never been better. Now you can download, fun, and bet like a pro from anywhere in Nevada. Get your new bookie today at circasports.com. Knish, before I talk more college bowls, I want to bring up a couple of things with you, since you're making waves on Twitter and whatnot, and this is a gambling show.
Yeah, a couple of Christmas witches out there that people might have been a little unreceptive to. I don't understand,
Yeah, I'll let you take it wherever you want, but one book in particular has been making some news. I'd like to get your impressions on this. FanDuel Sportsbook seems to, cater to, you want to complain about certain bets and players getting hurt? Go complain, go cry and bitch about it online, and maybe you get your money back. So did you see some of their rulings, specifically the one today, Devin Booker, all those bets because he got hurt early were refunded? I think it's a terrible decision. What say you?
I think I agree, because it's creating – there is no more thankless group of people on earth than the gambling community, where you're just creating this standard where anytime somebody gets hurt, the people are going to be bitching up a storm that they won the refund. So it's not like this, oh, thank you so much. Oh, we love it. Merry Christmas, everybody. It's just creating this standard going forward where every time now people are going to, and when they don't get it, it's going to be this and then they're going to other books that aren't refunding it, that may be actually, taking bigger there. Well, why am I FanDuel refunding me? Why am I not getting a refund? So to be honest, I don't like it. I don't think it's creative. I don't think it does anything business-wise for them, to be honest.
No, I agree.
If I was running FanDuel, I wouldn't be doing this. And I just think it's creating this annoying perception around every time now somebody gets hurt early, where hey, let's give them a read. So yeah, I'm not a fan. What say you?
Not at all. Such a terrible precedent, slippery slope. But they've created this themselves. I mean, when you see the comments to anything they tweet out and whatnot, I mean, it's when you see the people that's your audience who's betting,
Right.
bitching, complaining. I mean, they created it. So I guess they made that bet. They can lay with it. But I think it sets a terrible precedent. Again, you don't have to worry about that with Circa Sports and some of the other more established, not some of the newbies. Sports books into the industry. Any other things I don't know if you want to mention, or this is the platform you want to do it, but any other things that have been bugging you this weekend, Knish, other than that Detroit Lions loss against Carolina?
Well, the 7 to Glendale took a little bit of a detour, but we'll be back. We'll be back next week. We're still alive. We got the good results there for I got the old man a couple of futures for Christmas. So and he's actually I'm going over there after there. So when he opens up and sees now I got him some Lions prices that are like double what I got him on the ticket. I'm sure he'll be enjoying that. But yeah, I mean, listen. A little bit of Christmas, Christmas fun here. We're having a little bit of drama, but this is the conundrum when you talk about people giving out and they want to say, well, we want to help bettors, we want to get. In most cases, when you lay out something like that, where like these books are mispricing X, and we're going to give them the playbook and how around it, and it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that within 3 weeks. One of the largest book in the country, FanDuel, the book that takes the most handle, adjusted their teaser pricing that had, and it wasn't the 2-team NFL teasers, but some of their other alt teasers that had plus EV pricing has now been adjusted. That's not a coincidence that when you give them the playbook a few weeks ago to see that this is mispriced, it changes in a couple weeks. And so listen, they have the right to sell whatever they want. Subscription, that's their business. By all means, they can do it. But don't come back and say that, we're eroding edge, because when you show the book that they're doing this wrong and then they adjust it, that's just the way things go. So I think people have the right to be annoyed by it.
Yep. I hear you on that. I think what the also annoyance is a certain few of those people came after people that did content that were touts and sold picks, gave out picks and whatnot, and you can make a case that some of the stuff they're doing is far worse than giving out a pick on a stupid game.
I would agree with that.
Much more dangerous. But whatever.
Yes. So and it'll be one of those agree to disagree. They're going to have their opinion. We're going to have our opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I do find the rationalizations that they want to use to justify what they're doing. It's a very rules for thee and not for me. When I do it, it's helping improve. But when you do it, it's scummy and all. So yes, I find their justifications very self-pleasing there. So yeah, it is what it is. Again, they got a right to do it. They can sell what they want. I know some people like it, by all means. But at the same time, when you give a book a playbook to say this is wrong, don't be surprised when the edge snaps away. Just like that. So frustrating for some people that may have taken advantage of things like that at that certain book. So is what it is.
Let's move on to some other things. In the chat here, since it is halftime, Mickey Hill, what happened with that personal foul?
I was filthy.
It must have been offsetting penalties. I'm guessing a BG offensive lineman that retaliated must have gotten a flag on that one where McDonald got hurt. I mean, that was as late of a bad of a late hit out of bounds as you'll see in football.
I agree. In 2022, that was kind of an old school, 1990s late hit there where he was past the white into the green of the sidelines and gets his legs cut out from under him. And obviously, I think he had a recent concussion too. So
I don't expect him to come back.
No, looked like they took his helmet. So yeah, I think McDonald's likely done for the day. But yeah, that was one where like that foul is obviously not a targeting, right? But that's the type of foul that somebody should be ejected for. Not like if you make a little contact on the side of the guy's head, he's fine, and you're getting kicked out of the game and suspended. That's the type of hit that if there was any subjectivity and common sense in college football, that should get you ejected from a game.
Could not agree more. Well said there. Any results in the last week since you and I last talked, since last Monday? I'll start with one. We had a best bet on South Alabama, Western Kentucky. My good. I mean, just from you didn't have to worry about that one, bad beat or nothing. I mean, that was over within the first 5 minutes of the game. You knew you had a loser. And I got to say, I mean, my biggest takeaway was I'm not sure, South Alabama did any film study or they're, it was signing day. Maybe they're more focused on the recruiting class last Wednesday. But I'll also say this. I think Western Kentucky, when you see how they performed in that game without 5 or 6 starters, I'm here to say Western Kentucky underachieved this season. If they can do that without 5 or 6 starters and that pass game, I mean, you mentioned, and I agreed with it, Troy being a great group of 5 defense. Well, I'm here to tell you on offense, Western Kentucky, what they showed last Wednesday, I mean, that's as good of an offense as you'll see at the G5 level with Austin Reed tossing around. I mean, I don't know how that team lost 5 games playing like that. That was just a bad bet by me, to say the least.
No, I agree, and I tell I thought the line at close there had come down a little too far. But man, as you said, like within the first, I mean, South Alabama, Western Kentucky probably could have put up another, 2-3 touchdowns if they wanted. The defense just had no answers whatsoever.
Yep.
And I agree. I was surprised to see, Western Kentucky look that crisp. And then maybe Austin Reed, maybe somebody should have grabbed Austin Reed out of the portal.
When he plays like that.
A few teams that said that. Maybe we should have threw this guy a couple of bags there if he's going to look like that. So, yeah, I mean, just a great performance by that. And I agree. That's a team that, it seemed like the first half of the year, they were going to be a quite a disappointing outfit. Got it together a little bit. Probably, as you said, should have had a better year than they would have had. So, maybe a buy team going into next year.
Yeah, we'll see how they get priced there. One other result I want to mention, because I thought it was one of the head-shaking results I've seen in college football, not only this year, but several years. I mean, how San Diego State lost that game in Middle Tennessee. When you hold a team to minus 66 yards rushing, you're up 14-0. You got a shaky-ass quarterback that had been playing safety earlier this year, and you attempt 43 fucking passes. I mean, that was one of the dumbest offensive game plans I've seen from anybody in the history of college football. I don't get it. Like, Brady Hoke, you think, he's a little conservative. Well, that was the time to be conservative. You just turn around and hand it off. You're up 14-0. What? Middle Tennessee can't do nothing. They're tossing the ball around, throwing it. I mean, 5 turnovers will lead to like 19 points for Middle Tennessee, and they got like 50 yards of offense on those 4 or 5 scoring possessions. I mean, Brady Hoke, I don't know. Now you see why he got fired in Michigan, to say the least.
Thank God. Don't bring some people. I was getting a few texts from people that night that I can't believe this guy used to coach him. Don't remind me of that. I don't need that on the holidays to remind of the Brady Hoke era. I mean, you saw it just even at the end there, like he lets 20. They're trying to. They're Middle Tennessee's in field goal range to take the lead. He lets 25 seconds go off the plate clock and then burns a timeout. Like just galaxy brain stuff you don't see anymore at the FBS level where like everybody instead knows how to do that. And I'll tell you what, that middle, I don't know. We just talked about West Kentucky, how they lost 5 games. I don't know how that Middle Tennessee team won 8 games. That team is horrific.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, one of the most underrated, embarrassing losses in a lot that when people look back because like they were an 8-win team is that Miami losing by 14 at home to that Middle Tennessee State team should have been a signal that it was going to be an all-timer year because that team is trash and that is that is a horrific. That's like losing to an FCS team that they won't get the scrutiny for that bad of a loss. So yeah, that was. I mean, look at that offensive line. San Diego State had like 8 sacks, 15 tackles for loss, and that they couldn't protect them at all. Yeah, I don't know how you lose that game. Yeah, and that was a rough one on the island for Brady Hoke, who just inexcusable loss there.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Miami. Keep in mind, there wasn't really a lot of flukiness in that Middle Tennessee win either. They beat them. I mean, they had a bunch of big plays against them, and it wasn't like Miami had like 10 turnovers like they had against Duke. So, yeah, that was as bad as it gets as far as a loss for Miami, and another bad loss for Brady Hoke. Let's start talking games. We got plenty of them here. You and I, quick programming note, you and I are going to be talking, I believe, once again, noon Eastern on Friday, to get you started for a bunch of the bowl games on Friday and Saturday. So we are going to cover all the games Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday here. We'll quick previews. If we got to pick, we got to pick. If not, we'll talk to you guys again on Friday at noon. Let's just go to tomorrow.
Yeah,
Georgia
we should have just like, though they should be like a bunch of player props out and stuff for those games. So we should be able to like deep dive it for like the playoff games and stuff, be able to give you a little bit more. Usually, we kind of keep it on the sides and totals. Since we've already been over a lot of the bowls, I'll try and be as prepped as possible to have some, some of the more specialty stuff for those games that we can dive a little bit deeper into.
Yep, and if you do like the show, don't forget to hit that smash that like button if you like what Knish and I are talking about. Let's talk about some games. Georgia Southern, Buffalo. Georgia Southern took a little bit of money. I just perfectly honest. I'm part of it on the Georgia Southern side here tomorrow against Buffalo. Over took some money early in the bowl betting process. I certainly lean Georgia Southern. I would still lay the 4, even though it's moved to a half point or so. Did you bet anything here?
Yeah, just a smaller play on Georgia Southern as well. Again, we've talked about it a few times. Do I love backing this type of offense in a bowl game after like a true air raid style? But it's a Buffalo team that some of their underlying metrics were like woof, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And they were a team that like end of the year was really reverting back to like a bottom tier MAC team. And again, we've talked about a few times that I think the Sun Belt currently is a significantly better G5 conference than the MAC is. Yep. And Buffalo, it looks to be kind of in that middle to bottom tier of the MAC team that needed a miracle win versus Akron to kind of get that 6 wins. So, yeah, I think it's more of a Buffalo fade for me, a team that I think is really not too much to like about what they're putting on the table. I think you're getting the team with the better athletes and stuff like that, and a team that was competitive in a better conference. So I would have liked a little bit stronger of again, if this was a better side than a Georgia Southern team, I'd feel more confident. I'd have a larger play here, but yeah, laid some 3.5. Still don't mind laying the 4 there. Yeah, I think that's I can't. There's not a lot of I don't have much to sell on this Buffalo team.
Yeah, I mean the way they closed was very bad, blowing the lead against Kent State at home, and then the Akron performance where they should have lost with bowl eligibility on the line. I didn't like how they closed. Next game, as we're doing this, Utah State took some money in the market. Lines down to 7. Memphis favored by 7. Total 60.5. I've been indifferent on this game for the most part. I couldn't believe this when it first opened up that Sunday. I mean, there was this high, believe it or not, as 14 in the market. I was not able to bet at a low limit book that offered that, but there was some 10.5. So I took a little piece of Utah State, but without their top running back, Tyler, their backups out, I don't know. I mean, to me, they're kind of a little bit of a phony team. They're 4-0 in one possession games. Memphis 0-4. Do I trust Memphis's coach in this one? I'm not sure, but 7 would be my lean here. But this is pure pizza bet for me. Memphis -7.
Yeah, that would be the lean at current as well for me. I get it's a Utah State team that like end of the year they seem to get the offense going a little bit more. I think their style kind of lends itself to translating to a bowl a little bit better with like some of the power rushing they were doing, the mobile quarterback. But I think this Memphis team is a significantly more talented team. They were a team that threw a lot better throughout the course of the year. As you said, though, trusting this Memphis staff in a game, Sean Hennigan, It's just something that one of those that I'm not particularly keen to get involved in either way, especially now that, as you said, the early Utah State numbers were too inflated. Looked like even at our there was just before we got on here, a 6.5 popped at Circa. It got bought up back to 7. Yeah, so I think we'll see it kind of basically stick around 7 here until game time. So I again don't have much on this one at current. Probably one that I'm more look to trade live a little bit, but if I had to play it, if you're in a bull pool or any of those, I'd lay the 7.
Next up, we saw some movement on this one. Wow, one time we were doing one of these bull betting shows as Circa was opening up. And then, you talk about Coastal Carolina here, then their quarterback and hitting the transfer portal, but then also specifying that he will play in this game. East Carolina currently, Coastal's been taking some money here recently. East Carolina laying 7, total 65 over, and Coastal taking a ton of money here, at least in recent days. So, again, I mean, maybe it sounds square to me, but I just think the limits are opening up a little bit and people are just taking half points on key numbers here with these 2 dogs for tomorrow. But I kind of disagree with it. I would more lean East Carolina. What say you?
Oh my, I just.
Oh, you like Coastal?
I'm good. No. Oh, no, that's the problem. Okay. I'm going to go out with Holton Ahlers' last game of his career is going to be one last knife in the side of my, back of Joey K here. Listen, when we were doing the show a couple of weeks, I played some East Carolina, and I never came back off it. I know that, McCall got ruled back in, was trying to chase some over there when the numbers were in the high 50s. Now, honestly, I think now, when you're getting up to the mid 60s here, that's even, it's getting a bit rich there for me, even on the total, which I again, a few days ago or a week ago, what I've said, I like the over, sure, but now it's gotten bet up pretty good. It's just, and I know, hearing some rumors and stuff that McCall wants this to be like we're going out with a bang, like the last rodeo here of him with Coastal Carolina. So, and again, this ECU team, but I think ECU is by far the better team. This is a Coastal team that outside of the quarterback position, there's just not much to like. Their defensive was really porous throughout the year. They obviously lost a lot off last year's team, and then they don't have the same level of skill talent. It's an ECU defense that kind of matches up relatively well. It's one for me that, again, at current, am I dying? I would play. Again, obviously, I don't like it as much as when we thought McCall was going to be out, and then it was going to be like a big bomb banger there in East Carolina. But gun to my head, I'd still play the 7 here. I have some 7 still pending from when I thought McCall was going to be out, and I'm just going to let it roll.
Kelvin Tyler in the chat. Robert Eldridge says Tyler is playing. I just double checked that. Yeah, he originally opted out, but he is going to play for Utah State. So that's pretty significant. He's probably their best offensive weapon. My goodness, bowl season, something else. Opting out. And no, they're going to play. Fun stuff. I'll put it that way. Let's move on to a Power 5 game tomorrow, Oklahoma State, Wisconsin. You want to talk about opt-outs and uncertainty. This will be one of these games tomorrow. Oklahoma State, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's now 3.5-point favorite, overtaking a ton of money today. I respect the guy that's behind most of that move there, but I'm here to tell you, with a couple of backup quarterbacks, with Wisconsin still led by Leonard on defense, I kind of disagree with it. So for me, I'm leaning under 45. What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't have anything now at current on the total. I'll be honest with you. I'm leaning Oklahoma State here at the 3.5. Haven't fired yet, but was one that and again, I know Sanders is gone. They've dealt with a ton of injuries throughout the year, but it's hard pressed for me for this Wisconsin team to be able to justify laying 3.5 here. They've had a bunch of opt-outs throughout the season. I think I just like, if you compare these two rosters, I think Oklahoma State has more talent. I think they're better, even with some of the players that have gone and some of the injuries. Wisconsin's had their fair share as well. So I'm proud of. Again, and this is one that I wanting to see your opinion on as well. I'm probably going to play some 3.5 here at some point. I was kind of waiting to see, once it got through 3, was waiting to see, hey, maybe it'll keep going. Will I get a cheap 3.5 or a 4? So haven't locked it in yet, but I'm going to be on Oklahoma State here in some fashion.
So that first week when this game was announced, I got both sides of the game. So what happened was Mertz, he's not worth not much, but he announced he wasn't going to play. So at that time, the line was 3.5. I thought, okay, I'll take Oklahoma State plus 3.5. I have no idea. Mertz stinks, but I mean, he's got to be a little bit better than the backup. So I played 3.5. And then within 24 hours, Spencer Sanders was ruled out. He wasn't going to play in this game. So then I turned right around and laid 1 with Wisconsin. So that's the position I'm at right now. But you know what? The more I think about it, I agree with you. And this is kind of, handicapping 101 bowl season. But Gundy's one of the best bowl coaches. I mean, he is. I mean, go look at the results. And Leonard's never coached in a bowl. So, I mean, when you got a lot of roster uncertainty, multiple starters out, I trust Gundy to be able to navigate that and handle it better than Leonard, who's got, obviously 1 foot out the door. This is it for him. He declined the offer to stay on the staff, probably as he should, because he didn't get the full-time gig there as head coach. So, yeah, if that ends up being our best bet, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not going to turn you down on that one. So I'll agree with that. Any other final thoughts on that game?
No, I just like not to oversimplify it, but I agree. Like, yeah, I think you're getting a lot of roster turnover both places. One coach that's been better in bowl season than one on the way out, and a team that has been perennially struggling on offense throughout the remainder of the year, laying 3.5. So yeah, for me, it's pretty simplified. I think getting the slightly better talented team and 3.5 points here in a total in the mid 40s. So yeah, I'm not going to overthink that one.
Fair enough. Here's let's go to Wednesday. Game that's moved quite a bit. One of the bigger movers as far as the side. Duke was a 2.5 point underdog early on in the bowl process. Now laying 3.5 against Central Florida. Total 62. Central Florida has some opt-outs. Central Florida, more importantly, has some concerns of who's going to play quarterback. Mikey Keene hit the transfer portal. We're not sure if John Rice Plumlee's fully healthy. One thing we do know, Mike Elko did a hell of a job at Duke this year. They will be ready to play. They have hardly any opt-outs for this one. When we see nothing but one-way action on the Blue Devils here. I'm guessing you're part of the Duke money here. I'll say, I'm not going to be running late to the window here, and recommending a strong big bet at 3.5 when you could have had a plus number beside Duke. So I did bet Duke early on in the process. I think they're the right side. I'm guessing you bet Duke.
Yeah. Laid some Duke money line around. I think it was average price around minus 120. Was able to get most of the fill at. I will say this is one that again as you said, I don't want to recommend it now that it's crossed through the 3. However, if Plumlee is out, if you're watching the Plumlee's out, let's still play. If he gets announced, I don't know. I've been trying to check, been trying to ask around, haven't gotten a good feel for if he's going to play or not. If he doesn't, I'd still lay it with Duke here. And I said, Brett in the chat, under 62. Under and Duke would still be a play for me if word on Plumlee comes out that he's not going to play. The Castellanos kid did not look like a guy who's ready to play at the FBS level. He was, Mikey Keene was a guy who was a little bit better passer, Plumlee explosive runner. Castellanos doesn't really do either of those things. And as you said, Elko, he took Duke's defense, to another level this year, had them, overperform in a lot of games. So, yeah, this is one that if you haven't played it yet, I would just try and wait and, have some alerts on that for the Plumlee news. And then under and Duke would still be good for me at that. If he plays, then it's a pass.
Agree. Kansas, Arkansas. Kansas money, at least early on in the process. It's been sitting, 68.5, 69 for quite a long time here, at least the last week or so after some original Kansas money. Makes sense. Arkansas, several opt-outs, as many as a half dozen starters for them. Their defensive coordinator is off to be the head coach at UNLV. Kansas, obviously excited. First bowl game for them in almost 15 years. Hardly any opt-outs. Leopold, their head coach, gets an extension. They sell out, within, I think, 24 hours, their ticket allotment. So they could have a crowd edge for this game in the Liberty Bowl. I still would lean Kansas +3, but nothing big at the current number. What do you think?
Yeah, this one's come down so much that, yeah, if anything, I'll probably wait to see how far it'll come down, and then maybe have as you said, some pizza bet on Arkansas or something if it keeps steaming down. But yeah, if your people jumped on the Kansas number early, obviously that's been the sharp side. But one that even on the early side of things, I wasn't too keen to get involved in here. Depending on who was going to be playing for Arkansas and a Kansas team that I think played, over their head in a number of scenarios this year. So, and then it's an Arkansas team that, I still don't know if it's a team. The UCF Duke game we just talked about, you would feel, more confident that it's a Central Florida team that had a disappointing season, doesn't want to be there, might not have their starting quarterback. I don't think Arkansas is in that totally same scenario where it's a team that I had on the radar to totally fade in bowl season. So yeah, at this one, I think it's just a pass to me at this point.
Agree. Next up, more line movement. Even today, the over took some money. Honestly, not surprised. North Carolina, Oregon. Oregon up to a 2-touchdown favorite, although we did see a little bit of 14.5 taken out of the marketplace here on the North Carolina side. Several opt-outs for North Carolina. Josh Downs is out for them. 3 of their 4 starters in the secondary, plus a couple other key backups out for them. We will see both starting quarterbacks. They're both going to come back and return next season and play. And Drake May and Bo Nix, 2 guys that will be in the top 10 of the Heisman futures markets when that gets released here in a few months. Both coordinators, that would be a worry with a 75 total. Both coordinators are gone. Kenny Dillingham for Oregon is off to be the head coach at Arizona State. Longo for North Carolina is off to be the Wisconsin offensive coordinator. So that would be a little bit of a worry. Other than that, I think 14 is about right. I understood the original Oregon money, and then I understood taking back a little bit of 14.5 on North Carolina. I thought the back door might be open there. Did you bet any of this in the last week or two?
Yeah, I had some early Oregon on the side. I will say the total, if this was a regular season game where both teams were coming in primed up here, and then you could talk me into it, to now be up to 75, even 75.5. I think there's 176 out there. To me, when you've got teams that have been off for a month here, to expect them to come in and be operate, especially when both teams, are kind of lean towards some, especially North Carolina with some precision passing offense and going to be down a few weapons. I know their defense now, the few good players that have had on it, ran out the door there. So, it's could, but I mean, to get this over, you're talking about Oregon needing to get 49, maybe, they maybe get in the low 50s here. I don't know. It could be one that, is 28-0 in 6 minutes, and I'm jumping off a bridge here. I'll probably looking to play back some under at some point. You're just, it's a tough match for me to to figure that these teams, especially when it's on, Petco Park, San Diego, it's going to be, natural, again, so. Yeah, I can't get to the total number now at this point here, unless you're just talking about an absolute drubbing by Oregon there. So yeah, I'll probably, again, smaller bet. We'll come back on the under at some point here.
Brett Pippin in the chat got a middle Oregon -9.5, North Carolina +14.5. Yeah, I think that's pretty solid. I hope, obviously, though, you got more on the original position of Oregon. Because of the variance in bowl games. I hope it's not a full middle where you bought all the way back at +14.5. Next one, Ole Miss, Texas Tech. Or what's your thoughts on that? When you got a middling opportunity, say your number on the game. I don't know what Brett's number is, if it's 13 or 14. What do you middle stuff? Do you take back 30%? What's your philosophy on that?
I'm more apt to do it in bowl season. I've done more of the middling and keeping the risk position lower in bowl season. I think you've got significantly more variance in terms of the results in bowl season, who's going to show up in that. So it just makes sense to, unless there's a side that I'm really in love with, or the playoff games per se, where you're getting the full team, the full effort, any of that. I've been doing more of the middling, taking off, a larger position than I normally would. Just because, again, I don't want to be even on the original positions, unless I know for sure that I'm getting, a great number. I can get as much done as I can, even lightening up the original positions. Because then, a piece of news goes against you, I'm away from the screen, I'm away from the phone for, 20 minutes here, and I look back and X quarterback, is, transferring out here, hits the portal, and then you're, 6-8 points later, you're underwater. So yeah, I do more of it in bowl season than I normally do.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I went super high volume the last couple of years. I got better CLV than I do in the regular season. I got much worse results. So this might be the last year for me, really getting super high volume. I mean, I mean, call me an action junkie with college football, but I mean, I want to win more than anything, and I'm not getting the results that I should be getting. I'll put it that way. Let's go to Thursday, or no, we got one more on Wednesday. Ole Miss, Texas Tech, another line. We've seen a little bit money come in on the over here recently. Line's been sitting at 3.5 for quite some time here. I leaned originally Texas Tech. I like Joey McGuire, their head coach. I do worry about the matchup edge. I think it's a significant mismatch with Ole Miss's run game against Texas Tech's rush defense. That would concern me a little bit, but I thought Ole Miss got exposed down the stretch once their schedule got a little bit tougher, and they lost 4 of their last 5 games. Nothing big for me. Maybe a pizza bet now at 3.5. Did you bet this one?
No, this one's the one, and I agree with you there. That in terms of just the bowl matchup, you got a Mississippi team that loves to run it versus a bad rush defense versus a Texas Tech team that's a little bit more, up-tempo, air raid, things that I don't like to back in bowl season. But it's a Mississippi State team that just, again, Lane in bowl season, in terms of, like, I agree with you that they were definitely overvalued through points of the year. And, their original, like, that first 6-7 weeks, they were not that good of a team. To come back now here and be playing, Houston, Texas there. So, I agree with you. It'd be a small bet for me on Ole Miss, but not one that I'm significantly involved in at the moment, not one that I really want to be.
Let's go to Thursday, Minnesota, Syracuse, Pinstripe Bowl. I did have a really strong position. I like Minnesota. Lean now at 10 has moved, 3 points, but thought process for me was, at Syracuse, I thought was another team, didn't close as their strength of schedule got tougher down the stretch. They got exposed. I think more pertinent to this matchup, Tucker, their running backs out, their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator are both gone. That was a big reason why Syracuse overachieved this season. I just think they're extremely shorthanded, and the game plan will be simple for Minnesota. Just smash Syracuse at the line of scrimmage. So I not a huge fan of laying 10 with a total of 42, but I'd still lean Minnesota. Did you take a position on the Gophers?
Yeah, had some early. I think I bet some juice 7 here, even some 7.5. But I agree. If you can, if you got like a 9.5 out there, there's still a couple of 9 and a juice or 9.5s. It's okay for a smaller bet. I love also like PJ Fleck in bowl season. He's one of those guys that you can fully trust to have the team amped up, ready to go, locked in, rowing the boat. Like the guy that is a master. I don't know if he's the greatest schematic coach in the world, but in terms of like getting his team prepped, ready, he's been in some. I remember they played Georgia Tech a few years ago when they were running the option and just absolutely like dialed in, had every knew they were going to have the bowl practice, like they absolutely slaughtered them. And that's, I think, the type of coach he is, like one of those guys that I feel you can have confidence in that his team's going to show up, be ready, be prepared, be locked in. And it's a Syracuse team that wasn't particularly good and has now lost some of their key players. So, again, 10 at 40. The problem being, yes, that Minnesota, not a particularly great passing team here. They're going to just have to pound you over and over and over again. So, yeah, it's tough there at 10, but that being on the side, I can still play.
Let's go to the Cheez-It Bowl. Oklahoma, Florida State. Florida State taking some money. Again, maybe I sound square. I'm a part of the Florida State bandwagon here. Anything under 10, I'm leaning with the Noles. Thought processes. They're locked in. They hardly have any opt-outs. Jordan Travis is coming back for another year. This is, a borderline top 10 team, probably be preseason top 10 next year. A lot of positive momentum. Oklahoma, subpar first season for Venables, to say the least. Both starting offensive tackles are out. Eric Gray, the running back's out for them. Several other guys are going to be out for them. I just don't know how important this was. Oklahoma was very active in the recruiting class rankings. I think a lot of their last couple of weeks have probably been focused more on that side of the ball, or that part of the program and that process. I look at their roster, their current roster, and a team that was 6-6 is going to be even worse for this bowl game. I just think Florida State has a possibility of rolling them here. I just think the only reason it's not fully 10 across the board right now is just that name brand of Oklahoma and Florida State. I guess people are thinking too much of the last 4 or 5 years. I thought this team from mid-October on was a legitimate top 10 caliber team, the best team in the ACC.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they were red hot to end the season. As you said, two teams going totally different directions, and one team that's had a ton of opt-outs versus another team that I think is going to be coming in a lot closer to full strength. This is probably one of the larger one-sided positions that I'll have in bowl season was Florida State at some of the earlier prices, and I don't plan. I mean, even though I just talked about shaving off a lot and taking risk off, this is one I really don't plan on it. There's not a number here that I'm looking to attract a piece that unless you get totally out of ridiculous that to come back on Oklahoma, because I think, as you said, they're a prime candidate to just get rolled over here. So yeah, if it's still be, I know Circa I think got the best price in the market at 9, it would still be a smaller play for me at 9. Again, I know we're delaying these big numbers in bowl season, not something that I usually particularly like to do, but I think you've just got a couple of matchups here on Thursday that are have a day that seem very, very one-sided in terms of coaching, in terms of player availability, that it's just hard to make a case especially for Oklahoma here.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see, and once we get a couple of seasons of this opt-out, to see how favorites do, especially large favorites, because, I mean, they're large favorites not just, for performance, but a lot of reason these teams are large favorites because of the current form of their opposition just being that pathetic. So, I mean, in typical cases, Florida State's laying maybe 7 at most here, 6.5 maybe, as low as that. But because Oklahoma's so shorthanded, they have become a big favorite. So my thought process is I think favorites will do better than expected in some of these games where there's so much opt-outs on one side compared to another. We'll see, though. Washington, speaking of opt-outs, another game, a bunch more opt-outs here. Washington. I like Washington here. Anything above 3. Bijan Robinson out for Texas. Roschon Johnson out. Several other guys out for Texas. I know they're playing close to home, but Michael Penix is coming back for Washington. I think that gives them some positive, momentum heading in towards next season. Without Bijan Robinson, he's one of those, non-quarterbacks is probably, I think, worth at least a half point, maybe in a point for Texas. More is going to be placed on the shoulders of Quinn Ewers, a guy that I didn't like what I saw from him this year, to say the least. I mean, a big reason why Texas, I thought, underperformed at 8-4 was Quinn Ewers didn't live up to his 5-star billing. So give me Washington plus 3.5. What say you?
I'm with. Then you know what? At the current numbers that are left on the board for bowl season, I think this would be like my favorite remaining play.
All right, let's make it a best bet.
Yeah, no, I'm in there. I think I played Washington at a couple numbers. I'd still have no issue playing 3.5. Played some money line. I think they win this game. I think they could win this game by. And listen, you want to take the clip and put egg on my face here? You can give the unabated crew some. If it doesn't come true, I think they could win this game by a couple scores. Ton of opt-outs for Texas. Huge coaching mismatch here between Sark and DeBoer. Penix coming back, looking great to end the season there. I think this is a hashtag. I get that Texas in terms of just the market rating, and that has to be small favorite in this one, but I like Washington a lot here. And I think a lot of the stuff that Washington does, especially in the short passing game there and stuff, can translate to bowl season. And a Texas team that I think would be a great candidate to not show up. And Quinn Ewers was bad the second half of the season.
Yeah, he was.
I don't love that, especially now going to be down some offensive linemen, their best player in Bijan. So I like Washington here quite a bit. This would be as I said, in terms of numbers that are available right now, Washington would be my favorite at the 3.5.
Best bet, not Joey's alternative minus 13.5 line on Washington, but we'll be happy. We'll be happy with plus 3.5 here on the Huskies.
Yeah.
Any other? I'll tell you. Let me mention this: former Texas quarterback Hudson Card's going to Purdue.
First.
Yeah, that just happened
Great
here.
hire by Ryan. I was going to ask you that. great hire by Ryan Walters. They bring in nice OC that I like too now, Hudson Card. Boiler up, baby. They got it. I lose Jeff Brom. I thought the program was going to fall off a cliff, but they I mean, you want to talk about a great 2 weeks for Purdue. Like, I mean, I think they've hit it out of the park here.
I agree, but let's not hope that, that positive continues at least on January the 2nd. We're talking about a lot of lines that have moved. If you follow the show and watch it every week, you got a nice little LSU -6.5 or -7 ticket in your pocket. As we gave that out a couple weeks ago, it's moved to 14.5. So let's hold off the Purdue positivity at least for another week. Hopefully they lose that one going away. But yeah, I agree with you. That's going to be one of the more underrated hires. The fact that he pulled Hudson Card was,
that's a major pull. I can't believe he's going to Purdue.
I did not expect him. Of all the teams that were after him, I mean, I didn't hear hardly anything about Purdue, so they kept that under wraps. Maybe somebody signed off a big paycheck. Keep in mind, Hudson Card's got at least 2, maybe 3 years of eligibility left. So big time move for them. Another under the radar transfer, because this is a college football show, but to mark down because the preparation for 2023 is already on for me. That Fisk kid from Western Michigan, a really good defensive lineman, is going to Florida State. Florida State's doing a hell of a job in the transfer portal, along with Michigan. You know that they're pulling in starters left and right.
I heard that Brad Powers might have Michigan favored to win the 2023 national title. I'm heard he might be. He's calling up books to post it so we can get some more hardball action here.
Won't be my favorite, but we'll say maybe favorite. Let's see how they do if they get matched up against Georgia. We'll see that, but might be my favorite in the Big Ten. That's saying something. They get the Buckeyes at home, and we've seen how that's worked out the last couple of years in that matchup. So, yeah, Michigan's going to be a preseason top 5 team. I mean, they got a lot of guys back. Another nice non-conference schedule too that you can take advantage of. I mean, I think UNLV, East Carolina, and somebody else that's just pathetic. So,
a couple of good programs.
So any other things? So best bet for us is Washington. I know you got a big shindig you got to get to. New Mexico State's up 17-7 on Bowling Green as we're doing this. Any other things you want to mention?
Yeah, let's clean up 2 things. One, we touched on UCLA Pitt in the previous one, thinking
that's a good one.
Thompson, Robinson, Charbonnet was going to be. I'm still hearing conflicting information that Charbonnet is leaning towards sitting, but Thompson Robinson might play. It's taken some money back to where the original line. So, again, this is one that, if you have a position, I've lightened up my own position. I got kind of on both sides here, so I don't have much, going there. I don't know if he's going to, they went through both practices, but the latest I had heard was even though Charbonnet practiced, he's not going to play. So, could Thompson Robinson go through practice and play? So, there is a ton of opt-outs regardless on both sides here in this one.
I think the under is the sharpest, but obviously it's moved to touchdown. I'll say this. I am more on the UCLA side now. I was, as Charbonnet and DTR are going to be out. Okay, I'll take a little bit of Pitt. I mean, I was all over this game, but right now, as we stand, as we're recording this on a Monday afternoon, even if DTR doesn't play, I mean, Pittsburgh's got opt-outs. I mean, I trust, look, I'm not a big Chip Kelly guy, but with a bunch of guys out, I trust him to be able to come up with something offensively compared to Narduzzi. Without Slovis, without a Banacanda at running back, I'm more on the UCLA side here. I think, why are they practicing? If they're not going to at least play, at least on DTR, why are you practicing? So I think he plays. I didn't expect him to play, but
I agree.
We got reports on, over the weekend that, he's taking all the number 1 reps. So, I mean, if he's not going to play, why the hell would he even bother?
I agree. I don't know what's going on with that with the chipper. Maybe he wants to get Dante Moore in already early to give him some rather than there. But yeah, I agree. I would lean, as you said, if he was taking the reps. But again, Charbonnet was play practice too, but apparently he's on the. I don't know. So yeah, it would be, especially if those two are in a UCLA play now. But I guess we'll have to see as it gets closer here. Maybe we'll get a little bit more clarity and see who's actually going to be the USC one. Caleb Williams, another one where USC's had a couple of their best players opted out, but his Still
means
unclear
everything.
whether he told people originally that he was going to play. Haven't heard much in the way of any update there.
I am not. I mean, we've heard some conflicting reports there. Early on, the process is very negative. Then he goes and, he's at some children's foundation, says, yeah, he's planning on playing. Don't know yet. Hopefully we know more next time you and I reconvene here on a Friday.
Yeah.
We'll definitely know more about UCLA because it'll be 2 hours before kick when you and I do the show. And, we'll only be a couple days out as far as USC. So there's conflicting reports means I've had, conflicting bets to say the least, trying to take advantage anytime there's breaking news or some new information. So it's interesting. I'll put it this way. Well, we'll see how it finishes for me. It might be one of the last years where I'm sitting, going to be glued to it. I might just put my hands up and just say, I'll live bet. I don't feel like it's December. I mean, I don't feel like being in front of a computer, 14, 15 hours a day. The season's over. It is what it is. So any other things before we sign off here?
No, I think that wrapping now. As you said, we'll be back Friday there to touch on. Hopefully, we'll get a little bit more information and be able to touch on a couple more games there with some updated stuff.
Agree. Before we do close out, though, remember one more time, you've been watching Hit the Books on the Hammer Betting Network, powered by Circa Sports. You can bet like the pros with the world's largest sports book right at your fingertips. It is Circa Sports. Experience big app bets with the highest betting limits, better money line splits with the lowest hold percentage, best customer service, and more. You can get your new bookie today at circasports.com. For Joey Knish, the man, the myth, the legend himself. For Jason, our producer, I'm Brad Powers. You've just been watching Hit the Books. We'll talk to you Friday.